and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Supervisor Locke with the invocation.
We seek your help with decisions tonight. Bless this meeting with your divine intelligence and help us to make the best use of our own. Thank you for being our source of guidance. Amen.
Amen.
Whoever's listening.
Supervisor Robel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move for the approval of this evening's agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on anything on the agenda this evening? Now is your chance to talk. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on anything on the agenda this evening? Okay, that portion of the meeting will be closed. Communications and petitions from the clerk.
The manager was upstairs and I turned in my papers and he says, Kenny, stick around here, don't go. See, I was 62 today, but I had 41 years in.
We have a notice of claim from Jeffrey Hinkleman from the Wisconsin Public Service for damage to WPS service wire caused by an accident with a county highway vehicle. It's referred to Personnel and Finance. And a resolution from Door County, recommendations as to legislation that impacts planning, zoning, and land use laws, referred to the Legislative Committee and Planning and Zoning. And that's all.
Okay, thank you. Reports from committees, commissions, and boards. Is there any? Supervisor Haig.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple noteworthy events this week. Went to the meeting this morning from the DOT about the road reconstruction project 441, and I do have some brochures from that meeting if anybody is interested, but it looks like the next big exit ramp to close is going to be the Racine exit in the not too distant future, and it's going to be closed for quite some time, so there's going to be some detours, but it sounds like they've got the funding and things are moving with swift progress. And secondly, last week Wednesday, I had the opportunity to attend the Neenah Menasha Hortonville cooperative hockey game over at the Tri-County Ice Arena. And I don't know that I've ever seen so many people there. Their estimated attendance was between 400 and 450. And the team fell behind 3-0. They actually came back and won 4-3 to move on. But everything was in great order. The place was well lit. The ice hardened up real tight, right after the intermissions. So you could tell that the new group there, the new management group, was really doing a nice job. Concession flow was very quick. It seemed like everybody was in attendance, was happy, and I didn't hear any complaints. So I just wanted to report that. The parking lot's still a little bumpy. We parked way back out somewhere because there were so many cars. So that still needs some attention and some lighting. But beyond that, it was a great experience. So thank you, Winnebago County Board, for moving in the direction we did with that facility. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to report the attendance at the Safe Streets Drug Court graduation in the courtroom of Judges Honorable Karen Seifert and John Jorgensen on February 11th. 4 graduates were presented, with the earliest in the program having entered the program on December 9th, 2013. The 4 graduates attended 181 drug court sessions, submitted to 1,040 drug tests, attended 945 meetings, and put in 714 hours of community service, paying 100% of the fees involved. These individuals are dedicated to turning their lives around from addiction and substance abuse. And it is gratifying to see how we in county government have afforded these folks a new lease on life. The primary purpose of the Winnebago County Safe Streets Initiative is community safety. We are seeking a balance between punishment and rehabilitation by providing treatment and programs to instill accountability in citizens involved in drug and alcohol-related offenses against our community. Our intent is to effectively use both government and community-based programs, and the goal is to have a more productive citizen upon completion of these programs, thereby lowering the rate of recidivism. As a resident of the town of Menasha, I bring to you two insights into our town. First, I'd like to announce that the incorporation of the town of Menasha west of the Fox River has been approved by the Wisconsin Department of Administration Incorporation Board as meeting the criteria for incorporation, and that our judge, Honorable Karen Seifert, has ordered a referendum on April 5th in which the West Side residents will vote for or against the incorporation as the village of Fox Crossing. And second, I was recently introduced at the last Town of Menasha Board of Supervisors meeting by Town Chairman Dale Youngquist to a lady, Natalie Strohmeyer, of 618 Bondo Drive in Town of Menasha. Mrs. Strohmeyer is the daughter-in-law of a former Town of Menasha chairman and has lived in Winnebago County for 23 years and has worked in the Outagamie County Register of Deeds office for over 30 years and is a deputy registrar of deeds since 1999. She expressed her intention of running for Register of Deeds in Winnebago County, and Mrs. Strohmeyer is here in the gallery. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Keel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Neenah High School, this is not a committee report, but Neenah High School will host the United States Air Force Band of Mid-America for a free concert on Saturday, March 19th at 6:30 p.m. This is an excellent opportunity to see a top-shelf concert with classically trained professional musicians. The event is free, however, you do need a ticket or tickets to be seated prior to the late arrivals without tickets. I can help you with, if you'd like to reserve one or more tickets, there's plenty available. Please look at your email. I sent it out late this afternoon. I apologize for the late sending. If you send to that address, a self-addressed stamped envelope, you can get as many tickets as you like. Some of you may have been to Pickard Auditorium at Neenah High School. It's a great venue. It's a great opportunity. I've seen bands like this multiple times in my military career. You don't want to miss it. I know this crowd here has a lot of folks that appreciate that sort of thing, patriotic music and things like that. Real good opportunity. That's why I felt compelled to let you know, and you can look at the email. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Rowe, Supervisor Hardy, Supervisor Widener, and Supervisor Lautenschleicher had asked to be excused from tonight's meeting. At this time, I'd like to ask Peter Mall to come up, the airport director. He's going to give us a report on the CIP 2016 snow removal equipment acquisition presentation.
There it is. Okay, thank you. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. Identified in the airport's capital improvement program this year, 2016, is a new snow removal vehicle, a plow specifically for the airport, which we would be replacing one of our existing pieces of equipment. I reported several times to this board over the years that our fleet of snow removal equipment is aging. We've got 4 snow plows, dedicated snow plows, 2 of which are 37 years old, 1 is 31 years old, and 1 is 20 years old. And we'd be replacing the 31-year-old piece of equipment with this acquisition. A number of years ago, when we had the revenue from the Oshkosh Corporation government vehicle storage, we had planned to purchase a new vehicle either every year or every other year, depending on how much revenue we received. and how much extra we had. And we did use some of our funds that we received from that to purchase our new blower in 2013. And if you remember, we also purchased a new broom in 2011. So here we are 3 years later, and we're looking to purchase a new snow plow. This new plow that we want to acquire is an Oshkosh 6x6 with a 500 horse engine, which is the highest horsepower you can put in that type of vehicle. The reason why we're going with Oshkosh is because they do manufacture the best airport equipment. Their neighbors, obviously, parts availability is very quick, if you want to put it that way. They're right across the street from us. So, and as I said, we have commonality with all of other pieces of equipment which are Oshkosh manufactured. As I mentioned, further mentioned, this plow would have a rollover plow as opposed to a straight blade plow. Typically on a highway type vehicle that's plowing snow, it's going to be a straight blade that pushes the snow off to the side. For an airport use, we have a lot of challenges because we're not plowing a 12-foot wide lane of traffic. We're pushing snow 150 feet across a runway into a snow pile that our blower will come through then and blow it over the taxiway and runway lights. So that requires really for us to have a rollover plow which can be reversible. It does roll over as indicated, as I tried to describe here, and also has two wings on the side that also helps mound up the snow when we get to the edge of the runway when it's mounded up. We also want to purchase a sanding unit on the back of the vehicle in the dump box, which has a pre-wetting tanks. Let me explain that one too. When with these pre-wetting tanks, what we can do is apply de-icing fluid or anti-icing fluid, either way, to the sand mixture when it's being applied to the runway. That way sand is not blown off the runway by the wind if it's a windy snow event, or if there's jet traffic or propeller-driven traffic that would tend to blow snow off. This will allow the sand to stick to the runway. I'll back up a little bit again. Normally we cannot use salt that's normally used on highways because it's corrosive to aircraft, so we have to use sand for our snow removal operations. And that sand also provides an extra amount of friction for braking action to the aircraft on the runways. This pre-wetting system would be incorporated into the sanding unit, and there are a number of manufacturers for that, and we're still getting some estimates on that. Finally, the purchase of this vehicle, we're proposing to purchase from Bruce Equipment, which is a distributor for Oshkosh Corporation equipment. Oshkosh Corporation doesn't sell municipal products directly to municipalities. You have to work through a distributor like Bruce Equipment and others around the United States. What we do is purchase this under the Minnesota state contract, and let me explain that a little bit. We also purchased our blower in 2013 under the Minnesota state contract. What this is that the state of Minnesota solicits bids for snow removal equipment, for construction equipment, other municipal vehicles under a blanket purchase order, and different distributors, other vendors can purchase vehicles from that. States, municipalities all around the U.S. can purchase under that contract, and there are other Wisconsin airports that have purchased under that same contract. And this is what we plan to do with this Oshkosh P-Series snowplow. Other than that, we have budgeted $650,000 for this. We don't anticipate that it's going to come near that amount. We're a few dollars short of that, which makes us a little happy, but we'd be bonding for this rather than taking this out of the airport reserve funds. With that, I'll entertain questions.
Supervisor Finch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pete, have you taken out bids on this, or just strictly going with one company and that's it?
We're going with the one company because they've already bid out the equipment. as I said, with Minnesota State contract, which we purchased from before, blessing of the Finance Department purchasing, the Minnesota State has done the bidding already. So we can choose vehicles from that have already been bid.
You yourself, I shouldn't say you.
Yeah, department.
County themselves have not sent out bids to
No.
anywhere.
No.
Is it practice of ours?
We've done this before. As I said, we've received permission from the purchasing from finance to do this.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Supervisor Knitsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Peter, when you mentioned that we can get some dollars from the old ones, also some of my constituents on the north side, they're saying they come out to the ballpark, the airport, they don't see any activity out there. Why do we need such a big blower out there?
Sure. The reason why we need a big one, and several big ones, like I said, this would be our fourth large vehicle, and we typically will put 3 of them out on the runway at the same time. You know, as I said, we're plowing snow 150 feet wide on a runway. So what we're doing is pushing it from one side of the runway all the way to the opposite side. We need horsepower. We need large pieces of equipment to do that. The current pieces of equipment we have are adequate, but if we get a large, heavy, wet snow, oftentimes we'll have difficulty getting snow all the way across, depending on the depth and the wetness of that snow. So a large piece of equipment like this plow really helps us increase and get snow off the runway as fast as we can. Time is of the essence, basically, when we're plowing a runway, because we want to get that runway open as fast as we can for traffic. Remember, we are the 3rd busiest airport in the state of Wisconsin. We do have a significant amount of traffic every day, even during snow events. Today was a good example. We had quite a number of charter, or rather corporate aircraft departures and arrivals. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all. No more questions.
Great. Thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to ask Doug Guerin, the Public Health Director, and Ann Boyce, the Environmental Health Supervisor, to come up. They're going to be giving us a presentation on the Zika virus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. We'll start off with the presentation on the sanitarian program. And really, the Board of Health suggested that we come and talk to you a little bit about that program. We come to you every year with an ordinance adjustment to adjust the fees that we charge for the various licenses. And tonight we've got a little opportunity to help you understand what the work is that's actually done. What do these fees actually pay for? What do our staff actually do? And so here to present that tonight is Ann Boyce. She's our Environmental Health Supervisor. Ann has a bachelor's degree in microbiology and public health and a minor in chemistry. She's been a state registered sanitarian, which is the certification for environmental health specialists in Wisconsin. There's a state and a national certification. Now the national certification is taking over. But Ann's been a registered sanitarian since 1988. She actually started working her working career at the Oshkosh water filtration plant and has been working in public health now for 32 years. So Ann has a lot of experience. Ann actually was with the City of Oshkosh Health Department prior to our consolidation, and then came over as a part of the consolidation, and then upon a vacancy in our environmental health program supervisor position, stepped into that role as supervisor. So here's Dan.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Environmental Health Sanitarian Program, focusing on food safety inspections. A little background information. Winnebago County Health Department Environmental Health Section is made up of the 3 divisions. I don't know why that slide is. Sorry about that. The sanitarian program consists of licensing and inspection of all food service establishments, food stands at temporary and special events. The sanitarian program also inspects and licenses lodging establishment, tattoo and body piercing establishments, water attractions, and 8 different state codes are enforced, and the Wisconsin Food Code is the largest code, and that is at least 150 pages. Our EH program consists of 1 supervisor and 4 specialists. Staff's assigned 80% of their time to the sanitarian program and 20% to other environmental health issues. Our jurisdiction is Winnebago County, except for the city of Menasha, as they do have their own health department. We currently have 810 permanent licenses on 715 establishments, and 360 temporary licenses are issued per year. The sanitarian program is fee-funded, and our estimate revenue is about $360,000 per year. And fees are part of the county ordinance and are updated yearly to cover the cost of our program. Sanitarians are responsible for protecting the public from the environmental factors that adversely affect public health. Current staff has public health experience ranging from 6 months to 32 years. So we're going to concentrate on food safety inspections. This is our largest inspection portion of our sanitarian program. These are the 10 CDC risk factors that contribute to foodborne illnesses, and controlling these hazards is key to reducing foodborne illnesses and foodborne outbreaks. The food safety inspection is geared towards identifying and correcting these risk factors. So our inspection process is, the food safety inspection consists of an introduction and discussion with the person in charge of what is actually going on in the kitchen at the time of the inspection. And then we would do the actual inspection, which consists of watching food processes, cooking, see what's going on in the kitchen, observing staff, and taking temperatures of food, checking cleanliness conditions of the kitchen. And then at the end of the inspection, we do an interview with the manager or person in charge to go over the report and to discuss corrections and time frame for corrections. Inspection documentation is on an inspection form that's divided into 3 areas that concentrate on employees, food safety, and the facility. So the employees, we look for the employees. We look that the employees and their actions are observed during an inspection. The employees are asked food safety questions to assess their knowledge of food handling and food safety. Food employees must have a working knowledge regarding food safety, disease transmission, and the requirements of the Wisconsin Food Code. So we do question them about temperatures and how they wash their hands, things like that. The easiest way to break the contamination cycle is through thorough hand washing. So hand washing stations are observed. They must always be available, have hot and cold water, be stocked with soap and disposable towels. And employees are observed on how they wash their hands and when they wash their hands. Ready-to-eat foods must not be handled with bare hands, so workers are observed during the inspection and the use of gloves, utensils, paper wipes, or other methods so they don't touch the food with their bare hands. During an inspection, attention is paid to food safety, especially temperatures, food temperatures, labeling, food storage, and handling. Restaurant menus must have a warning statement for consumers regarding undercooked meats or uncooked foods that may be an ingredient in their item. And you'll see these on the bottom of the menus. We do check these to make sure they are on the menus because they are alerting people that eating undercooked foods could cause them to become ill. Foods must come from an approved source. Home canned and home processed foods are not allowed in a licensed food establishment. We do look for the salsas, the homemade pickles, and we do find a lot of those around the fall of the year, especially if the establishment's having like a Bloody Mary bar or something like that. Food storage is observed, placing ready-to-eat foods and fresh vegetables, fruits on the upper shelves and raw meat on lower shelves reduces the chance of the meat juices dripping into the food. So we do look for that in refrigerators. We also look that foods aren't stored under sewer lines or under stairs or in basements. This is just one example of one of our handouts that is given to during an inspection, just to help the operators in organizing their walk-in. You can tell the ready-to-eat foods are on the top, and then the poultry is on the bottom. Food needs to be cooked to required cooking temperatures, and if foods aren't available for temping after they're cooked, we do rely on the employees and managers to monitor those cooking temperatures. We may not be in the establishment when they're cooking something, so we do have conversations with the manager or employees to help gauge their knowledge and the compliance to the required cooking temperatures. Proper cooking temperatures must be adhered to eliminate pathogens. During an inspection, we routinely take temperatures of any food that's available, and those are mainly the hot holding temperatures where they're in a steam table. So foods that have been cooked to the appropriate temperature may be held in hot holding units to 135, and we take temperatures of all foods in the hot holding unit to make sure they are at that temperature. Refrigerated foods must be held at 41 or below. We take temperatures of all the refrigerators and freezers in the establishment to make sure that they are functioning properly. All foods must be labeled with a common name, common ingredient, net weight, net weight, the name and address of the producer or manufacturer of the food, so we do look for labeling. We want to make sure that the food is from an approved source and that they're not just making it, in their garage or something like that. The facility. During an inspection, attention is paid to the overall conditions of the facility, the floors, walls, and ceilings, the cleanliness of the facility. Sanitarians, we also assure that dishwashing equipment is operating properly so that utensils and dishes are properly washed and sanitized to eliminate pathogens. And then all food contact surfaces, prep tables, work tables, must be sanitized and washed between use when they're soiled. Toxic chemicals must be stored away from food products in the original containers or in clearly marked containers. If they do take it out of the original bottle, it has to be marked with a label so they know what's in it. Observations of infestations require an immediate call to a pest control company. Many establishments have ongoing contact with pest services to regularly monitor, trap, and spray for pests, and thus pests are rarely observed in our establishments. I think I have seen 2 mice in the 30 years that I've been inspecting, so that's really good. Food establishments must comply with all applicable codes relating to safe water supplies, safe sewage disposal, adequate trash removal, and proper grease disposal. A minimum of 1 inspection is required by the state per year. However, follow-ups and complaint inspections occur as needed. A large part of our summer months is spent at temporary events, and that's during the week and weekends and holidays we work. So 4th of July, all 5 of us are out working. The same food safety rules that apply to permanent establishments also apply to food stands at temporary events. Temperature control, employee cleanliness, well-trained employees are necessary to assure that the food stand doesn't cause an outbreak. And then the required equipment for a temporary food stand, we look for a hand washing station, equipment to maintain foods hot, equipment to maintain foods cold, a thermometer to take a temperature, and gloves or utensils so that food isn't touched with bare hands. And then utensil washing must be set up, or adequate quantities of utensils brought along to replace soiled equipment. So this is just a picture of some of the equipment that's approved for a temporary event. It's pretty basic. 3 dish pans for dishwashing. In the lower corner is the hand wash station with the soap and paper towels and a bucket to catch the water. So that's all allowed at a temporary event. Common violations that we find at the temporary events. The big one is power issues. People tending to plug in 2 or 3 Nescos into a little power strip. They trip the circuits, resulting in the Nesco not properly heating and then the food not being at proper temperature. We see a lot of hand wash stations not set up. They have usually hand sanitizer. They think they can use hand sanitizer instead of washing their hands with soap and water, and hand sanitizer is only allowed after they wash their hands with soap and water. The use of the green garden hoses or non-food grade hoses. We see bare hand contact with ready-to-eat foods where they're grabbing the bun with their hand and putting the hot dog in the bun. Thermometers are not available. Many times they don't have dishwashing set up, and the black flow preventer is missing on a water source. So why do we do what we do to prevent foodborne illnesses? And even with routine inspections, outbreaks happen. As the bottom part of the slide shows, our outbreaks, we had outbreaks in 13, 14, and 15, and all our outbreaks were caused by an infected food handler working while they were ill or returning to work too soon after they were ill. Because many food establishments don't have sick leave policies, many employees work while ill. They don't alert their boss that they are sick, so they can, depending on the organism, shed the organism from their hands into the food that they're making for you to consume. So that's my contact information, and any questions?
Well, I just want to say that that's all very important. I think I've mentioned that recently or before at our board too. But there was the city manager, the former county executive. We all got hepatitis A eating at a fancy hotel here years and years ago. Some of us were sick for 6 months because somebody didn't wash their hands.
Exactly, that's exactly it.
So it is very important.
Yep.
Supervisor Knitsky.
When I'm ill for volunteer associations, we're used to unannounced inspections. How many of them do you have?
Do what?
They come and inspect unannounced.
Probably about 90% of our inspections are unannounced.
Okay.
There's some establishments that we just can't get in during the day, that we have to make an appointment either at night or, so they do know that we're coming in. But the majority of them, the state is pushing towards more announced inspections, because what they want is they want the manager or person in charge to be available and have the time to talk over their establishment with you.
I think there's something to say from both.
Both.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Supervisor Olson.
I just have a couple of questions out of curiosity. When someone has a temporary event, even if it's like at a church or something, a chili cook-off or whatever, do they have to get like a license or permission or something, or how do you find out about it?
We don't routinely go out and look for them. If we see advertisements, we will call them and just discuss their event, what's happening at their event. Church groups, if it's for the parish only, are exempt from licensing.
Oh, really? Otherwise, the other associations or companies are required to get a license?
Yep.
Okay.
There's some gray areas, but yeah.
When there's a foodborne illness outbreak at a chain restaurant, and it happens not in our area, but because it's a chain account, there's fears that it might spread to everywhere because of the food supply. Are you notified about that, and do you do inspections of those restaurants?
We are notified. Usually we would get like a recall on the food or something like that. We usually don't do an inspection. What we may do is just stop in and see if they have any of the food, like if there's a food identified as part of the outbreak, we'll stop in and see if they have any of that food or if they have been made aware of the recall. Most of the chain restaurants, the minute they find something out, that food is pulled immediately.
Chipotle was one of that happened, and they were using organic food. That's what they found out was the source of the illness. Do you do anything with the organic food?
No, we don't.
No?
No.
Okay.
It's
So
just-
locally sourced farmer to table stuff is acceptable without inspection?
Produce.
Yeah, okay.
Produce, yeah.
I guess that's not any different from me buying corn in the summer
No,
in a stand.
exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
thank you.
Yep.
Supervisor Haig.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Another question in regards to the temporary events. You had mentioned the hand wash station. Is the hand washing before the use of a hand sanitizer based on a CDC protocol, or?
It is. Hand sanitizer, they have done studies where it doesn't break down the fats of the meat and any of the fats related to the food, so it doesn't penetrate those fats, so the bacteria can harbor in the fats. So you need to wash your hands first to break down that fat, and then you can use the hand sanitizer. And sanitizers are allowed in healthcare, but you don't have that fat residue or that meat residue or soiled.
Sure. So a hand wash station properly equipped would be using hot water as well then?
We usually say warm. What happens is they'll fill the jug up before they leave their establishment, and by the time they get to site, as the day goes by, it does cool down.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ann. So I did want to emphasize that, the culture that our staff have with the operators and the community is really one of education and really working with the establishment owners to, help them be as safe as they can. And, our staff get in, as you can see, into hundreds of establishments and really can provide some valuable input for operators on what they see in other establishments and work with them to improve their processes and really help them understand why the rules are set up the way they are. We rarely have to suspend a license or close a facility or issue a citation. It happens occasionally, but usually those are some pretty major issues that are going on in an establishment for that to occur. Next up, I want to introduce Denise Krieger. Denise is our current communicable disease nurse supervisor. She actually just recently stepped into that role. We actually, as part of a department-wide reorganization, we've created this position to better manage our communicable disease section that also includes immunizations, refugee health work, our STD, HIV work, TB work, that sort of thing. Denise has been a nurse for 29 years. She has experience in emergency rooms and in home care and also in public health. She's been working in public health for 16 years, mostly in communicable disease capacity. And so Denise is going to just share a little bit of information with you about what everybody's been hearing about on the news outside of the politics of the election, and that's Zika virus.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you, Board, for allowing me the opportunity to give you a little rundown on what's going on with Zika virus. I think most everyone has heard about Zika virus in the news, and it's one of many viruses spread by mosquitoes. They seem to get really interesting names like dengue fever, chikungunya, yellow fever, and of course West Nile virus. Like I said, it's one of several. Zika virus itself has been around for about 50 years. We haven't heard a lot about it, mainly because while it caused some outbreaks in areas of Africa and Southeast Asia, they weren't explosive outbreaks. Now what we're seeing, and you have a sheet that has some information on the front, and on the back is a map. What the map shows is mainly what we refer to as the Americas. and where the spread really seems to be taking off right now. We don't have great answers as to why it seems to be just taking off in those areas, but we know that it is. The mosquitoes that do spread Zika virus are very aggressive daytime biters. The very good news for us is those types of mosquitoes are not around Wisconsin. They like the warmer climates, which is why they stick to this area. We know our mosquitoes can transmit West Nile virus. We've seen that before. But like I said, it's very encouraging that we won't see these types of mosquitoes by us. What Zika virus can do, for people who become infected with Zika virus, almost 80% won't even show symptoms, so they won't even know that they have it. The remaining approximate 20% that actually show symptoms, typically they'll start the symptoms within 3 to 7 days after being bitten by a mosquito that's infected with Zika virus. Symptoms are usually pretty mild, last a few days to a week. The common symptoms are fever, rash, joint pain, conjunctivitis or like red kind of crusty eyes, occasionally muscle pain or headache. One of the very big concerns right now with Zika virus is they're finding out that it can be spread from mom to the unborn baby, and also through sexual transmission. These are new findings with this, and part of the reason that they're finding this is if you've heard, the reports in the news, Brazil has kind of been the area where it's really taking off. What they've seen is a very large increase in what's called microcephaly. It's a big medical term that just means the baby's head is abnormally small or has stopped growing during the pregnancy period. And that almost always means that there's going to be birth defects and other issues that go along with that. To give a little, the baseline typically in Brazil, from where it was and where it is now, they're seeing it's about a 10 to 20 times, let's see, I want to say that better. They have 1 to 2 births out of every 10,000 normally, and now it's 10 to 20 cases per 10,000 live births. So it's a jump of 10 to 20%. It's huge. More research is needed as to exactly what the correlation is with all that. But we know that there's something majorly going on with Zika virus, and we know Brazil has a huge outbreak of Zika virus right now. So what this means just kind of in our area and for our travelers, because we like to go to these warmer climates right now. So far, as of actually last week, 107 travel-associated cases have been reported in the U.S. That just means that, I went to, Brazil and I had symptoms, I got tested, and I was found to be positive. I brought it back. Again, we don't expect this to be transmitted in our area by mosquitoes, so that's a good thing. We have had 4 people tested from our county. Initial tests were enough where they sent it on to the CDC, and we're still waiting for CDC reports to come back. But at this point in Wisconsin, there has been no confirmed cases of Zika virus in people who have traveled. Travelers should be aware of where these outbreaks are occurring, whether you're, pregnancy age or not. Everyone should be aware. Take the proper precautions, which is basically what we always say for preventing mosquito bites. Women who are pregnant or want to become pregnant really need to be careful. They really need to talk to their doctor about the risk of traveling to an area, and if they should travel to that area, and if they do, to take the appropriate precautions. The male partners of the pregnant women who travel to these outbreak areas also have to be very, very careful, take the mosquito precautions, and then the recommendation is that they use condoms throughout the entire rest of the pregnancy to help protect that mom and baby. What we're doing in public health, like chikungunya and like a lot of the other diseases that come out, We monitor everything that's coming out, all the guidance and all the reports. We work to make sure that travelers are aware of what to watch for and what to do, and also that healthcare providers have the most updated recommendations on what they can do. We'll continue to do exactly what we're doing. We're going to still learn a lot from this, and granted, I'm just hitting the highlights. But I also included a couple sites on the bottom. If you're ever looking for more information or up-to-date information, the state of Wisconsin and the CDC always have great, accurate information. Again, I know I just hit the highlights, so if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to field them.
Supervisor Finch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just came back from Florida, and I believe there's 8 cases right now with what you said.
8 cases?
8 cases. Might be 6, but I thought it was 8 total. And the amazing thing about it, and I think that if the people that go to these countries and or whatever could see what these little babies look like, they'll be extra special protective, because I tell you something, they don't look good, not at all.
No, it's a very noticeable
Yes.
difference in head size. Yeah, and it really does lead to a lot of birth
problems.
defects, a
According to
lot of
what
issues.
the thing said, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Supervisor Olson.
Thank you. Quick question. Is this contagious?
Contagious, not person to person. What can happen if a person has it, gets bit by the certain type of mosquito, and then bites someone else where the mosquito contains the virus? Yes, that's possible. Again, that's only occurring in the warmer climates, maybe possibly in some of our southern states eventually, but in the United States we have a lot better mosquito control efforts also. So it's not person to person, like if I cough within 3 feet, you're going to get it. It's not that. It takes the mosquito kind of in between.
Well, it's interesting because the media seems to be blowing this way out of proportion then, you know.
They do with a lot of things, and that's why we try to get accurate information out to you guys and anybody else that we can to make sure that it doesn't get
So
blown
it's not
out.
necessarily fatal and it's not contagious.
Right. People who get it actually have very mild symptoms.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Lately, I've been reading all the time now that the big thing is wood ticks. What's up with wood ticks? That wood ticks are the next big.
Well, we have a lot of wood ticks. Those are generally the ones I see up north. I think they're finding that wood ticks might be able to transmit some diseases that we weren't really aware of before. The more science, the more research, they seem to be finding more and more. It was always the deer tick that was the Lyme carrier. Now wood tick, I believe they're looking at for some other, maybe some new diseases that we weren't aware of before. So we will be watching that also. Yeah, and always, I can't stress enough, use DEET, the appropriate clothing, cover the pants, wear the shoes, make sure you're doing tick checks, and make sure that you're spraying for mosquitoes. Be careful when you're outside.
Well, there are no more questions, and I want to thank you. It was very informative.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Robel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move that we adjourn until Tuesday, March 15th at 6 p.m.
Okay.